Okay, Chairete Mathetai Mu. This is a Greek 1A class at SATS. Purpose of the morning is to take translation exercises 6 and 7 and work through segments of those. So I'm going to share those in a moment. Perhaps a good place to start would be to ask which exercises caused you any problems amongst those. We won't have time to go through all of them, but I'm happy to discuss the ones that were a tad problematic. So does anybody have particular ones in exercise 6 and 7's translations that you'd like us to go through? I presume you can see my screen now.
Yes, we can.
Make the text a bit bigger. All right. Well, if no one has anything in particular, then we might as well do them from the top. So, apostello ton angelon. I send, apostello ton angelon, the angel. Ton angelon. Well, not going to bother to type it. Ton angelon being accusative. Autoi ton theon opsontai. Fairly good idea when translating is first to look for the verb, then anything in the nominative case functioning as the subject, and then stuff in the accusative case functioning as the direct object. The verb here is opsontai. They will see. In the nominative case, we've got autoi, which third person plural, literally they. So it's they will see, ton theon, God. Autoi ton theon opsontai, they will see God. We have a indication here of the flexibility of Greek with respect to word order, being able to move ton theon in front of opsontai without doing any violence to the meaning. Greek does not need autoi for this sentence to mean they see God. Ton theon opsontai without autoi would have the same meaning. So the addition of autoi usually creates some measure of emphasis on the they part, the subject. Okay, number 3. Lucy.
For the first
Lucy.
one, would there be a way of saying I sent an angel instead of the angel?
Apostello angelon.
Okay. So if there's no article, it would be an instead of the.
Nai kai u.
Okay.
That is a fairly hard and fast rule in English. Greek has a number of contexts in which the article is missing, but the noun is still definite, meaning it means the.
Okay.
But the reverse is always true, though. If it has the article, it's always definite. So it's not a guarantee that seeing angelon without the article means that it is an angel. But if you see ton angelon, it's definitely the angel.
Okay.
But the only way to say I see an angel is apostello angelon. You've got to drop the article. Catalambanes?
No.
Tres. Edidasken autus. Edidasken autus. Hishio, it was teaching. Autus, them. I am in exercise 6, right? Let me just double check that. Yeah. So Hishio, it was teaching them. Edidasken autus. You guys have to shout if you got a question, so just interrupt me, all right? Diokete, ten agapen. Diokete, pursue, ten agapen, literally the love. Greek frequently uses a definite article with abstract nouns, where English would never do so. So in English you would never say ten agapen when simply referring to love. Well, not never, but it would be unusual. It's fairly common in Greek. Diokete ten agapen, pursue the love. We would translate simply pursue love. That was tessera, pente, eraunate, tas grafas. Eraunate, tas grafas. Eraunate, you search. Tas grafas, feminine accusative plural, the scriptures. If you have any uncertainty about the case of a particular noun, anytime it has the article, as long as you know the article inside out, upside down, back to front, it's easy to pass the noun because it will always agree with its article. So even if you didn't know that grafas was third person, if you didn't know that grafas was feminine accusative plural, the fact that tas is feminine accusative plural would be a dead giveaway. Eraunate tas grafas, you search the scriptures. Hex. Peplerotai ho kairos kai engiken he basileia. Peplerotai ho kairos kai engiken he basileia. We've got two verbs joined by kai, so we've got a compound sentence. Peplerotai ho kairos is the first clause. The verb peplerotai, we are told, means it has come. Ho kairos is the time. It is nominative, so it's functioning as the subject. Peplerotai ho kairos means the time has come. Kai and engiken, it has drawn near. He basileia, and the kingdom has drawn near. It's fairly standard, not completely standard, but slightly more common than any other word order in Greek, at least biblical Greek, would be to put the verb first, then the subject, and then the object. So your standard verb word order would tend to have the verb first. These clauses are both normal. Peplerotai ho kairos kai engiken he basileia. The time has come and the kingdom has drawn near. Catalambanes? Any questions?
Ooh, Catalambano.
Okay. Etelesen ho Christos tous logos. There again you see that word order. No, a verb, subject, object. Etelesen ho Christos tous logos. Etelesen, he finished. The subject in the nominative, ho Christos, Christ finished. Tous logos, the words. So this would be Christ finished the words, or the Christ depending on context, or the Messiah. You've got a few options as to how you would translate ho Christos. Octo?
Given. Could that previous one be Christ finished his words?
Not without some contextual reason for translating it that way.
Okay. You gerust.
Okay, Octo. Το Sabaton dieton anthropon egeneto, kai ucho anthropos dieto Sabaton. This is a fairly complex sentence for this stage. You'll be helped by familiarity with biblical language and texts. To Sabaton dieton anthropon egeneto, kai ucho anthropos dieto Sabaton. Only verb in the sentence is egeneto, it was made. So I'll translate this by typing it in. Our verb is, it was. I don't know how to change that in this little window. It was made. Alright, the subject which is what we look for next, is going to be to Sabaton. In the neuter, to could be subject or object. It could be nominative or accusative. Here it's functioning as the subject. So the Sabbath was made diaton anthropon, for the man. All right, and not kaiuch. Now there's no verb in the second clause. Kaiuch ho anthropos diatos sabaton. There's no verb in the second clause because it is understood to be the same one as the first clause. All right, so and not. So if we literally translate it, and not nominative ho anthropos, the man. I'll put the implied verb in square brackets, was made diatos sabaton, for the Sabbath. It gives you a wooden literal translation of this in very grotty English. You wouldn't want to read this version of the Bible in your devotions. But sometimes the wooden literal helps to follow what's going on in the Greek. So we've got to sabaton diaton anthropon egeneto. Remember, anthropos is a word that covers human being, inclusive of men and women, whereas aner refers only to men. Ton anthropon, the man, the Sabbath was made for the man. We would translate something like the Sabbath was made for man, or you could possibly even be more politically correct and do something like the Sabbath was made for human beings and not human beings for the Sabbath. All right, so that's very politically correct in the modern sense of it. I'm not too fond of inclusive language translations personally, but that certainly is the idea here. It's not to distinguish men from women, but rather humanity from other creations. The Sabbath was created for man. Man or human beings were not created to serve the Sabbath. Katalambanete? Any questions so far? I'll take silence as no.
Kevin, I do have a question.
Daryl.
Yes, sir. When you get to your more complex sentences, like the one you just took us through, where, you know, literally the sentence breaks in half and, you know, you've got two verbs or you've got, I don't know, two subjects or whatever the case, how would you know, are there rules to govern how you would slice that up, how you would, you know, so you wouldn't get confused like us as beginning students or whatnot?
I don't know that there are hard and fast rules. A fairly simple suggestion would be each time you find a clause, you look for first the verb, then the subject, which may not always be there, because sometimes the subject is embedded in the verb, then the direct object, and then, you know, flesh out the details from there. And all you would have to do here is recognize that Kai joins two clauses. But what's confusing in this clause for the beginning student is the absence of a verb in the second part. This is very common for Hebrew parallelism, to have the verb stated in the first line and omitted from the parallel second line. But when you have limited command of the language, it can be quite a stretch to recognize what's going on. So that to me is a fairly difficult sentence for where you're at in this early stage. Okay.
Gotcha.
Here. Let me restart my screen share.
You could restart.
Right, Henea. Kai apestelen autus kerusen ten basilean to theou. Kai apestelen autus kerusen ten basilean to theou. Let's take that portion. Kai apestelen, and he sent autus them. There is no subject in the nominative case. So the subject is the implied he, or she, or it, if the context told you it was appropriate. Sent them kerusen to preach ten basilean to theou, the gospel of God. So we have kai apestelen autus kerusen ten basilean to theou, and he sent them to preach the gospel of God.
Kingdom. Sorry, Kevin.
Sorry,
the
the kingdom
gospel.
of God.
The
The
kingdom.
kingdom of God. The kingdom of God. Kalos. Mesun chorete. My apologies. Deka. Deka. Kai nun he basileat su ustesete. Ustesetai. Kai nun he basilea su ustesetai. Kai nun, which is your introduction thing here, is and now. All right. The verb is stesetai. It will continue, and it's negated. The negative always goes immediately before the verb that it's modifying. Ustesetai, it will not continue. The subject, nominative case, he basilea su, your kingdom. So this is a fairly simple sentence. Kai nun he basilea su ustesetai, and now your kingdom will not continue. Katalambanete?
No.
Okay. Let's go straight on to Hindeka. Hode Paulos, Ephe, Epimtsai, Alus, Apostolus. Hode Paulos, Ephe, De is a very common conjunction. It is what is known as post-positive. That means it never appears first in its clause. It's happy to appear second by preference, and sometimes will be displaced third into its clause, but never first. So hod de Paulos, de means and, now, or but, depending on context. So this would be something like, but Paul said. Hod de Paulos, Ephe, but Paul said, or now Paul said. Epimtsa, alus apostolus. Epimtsa, I sent, we are given the meaning. Which of these two is the subject?
Apostolos.
We have one vote for apostolos.
It must be the I. I sent.
Don't they go together?
Trick question. Neither of them are
Yeah.
nominative. So neither of them are the subject, because neither of them are nominatives. Alus, apostolus are both accusatives. So epimsa, the subject is implicit. I sent. What did I send? There's the direct object. I sent apostolus. All right, and alus functions as an adjective. It's modifying apostolus. I sent other apostles. So we put it together. Hode Paulos Ephe, epimtsa, alus apostolus. I sent other apostles. Ton Christon pistusin hoi anthropoi hoti genoskusin genoskusi ten agapenautu. This is dodeca. Remember we had Deca, Hendeca, Dodeca. Jesus appointed Dodeca Apostolus. Ton Christon pistuusin hoi anthropoi hoti ginoskousi ten agapenautou. Ton Christon pistuusi hoi anthropoi. Spot the verb. Pistuusi, they believe. What is the subject?
The men.
Hoi
Hoi
anthropoi.
No, kalos. So the men believe. Ton Christon, the men believe the Christ. Hoti can mean because or it can mean that. In this case, it's going to mean because. Ginoskousi ten agapenautou. The men believe the Christ or believe Christ. Hoti ginoskousi ten agapenautou, because they know his love. Lamech de, notice de, post-positive again, appearing second in clause. Lamech de apen tus logus. But Lamech, apen is spoke, tus logus, the words. Lamech is a Hebrew name. If you are wondering what case it is indeclinable. That means it does not have endings which would tell you its case, because it's a loan word borrowed from another language which does not decline. So we infer from the context that Lamech is the subject, but it doesn't have anything about its form that tells us it's nominative. Katalambanete.
Catalabano.
Deca kai tessera, 10 and 4, 14. Kai eresan hoi logoi ton pilaton. Kai eresan hoi logoi ton pilaton. So the verb eresan, they pleased. What is the subject?
The words.
Hoi logoi. So we got the words pleased and the direct object ton pilaton, and the words pleased Pilate. Deca kai pente, ta sabata phulaxeste. Phulaxeste, you will keep. What is the subject?
It's implicit in the verb. Sabbath.
No, kalos, you will keep.
Ah.
Ta sabata, the Sabbaths, neuter is always the same in the nominative and accusatives. So theoretically can be nominative, meaning it would be the subject, or it could be accusative, meaning it would be the direct object. Can it be the subject? Could this be the Sabbaths will keep? Well, the answer is no, because if it was the Sabbaths will keep, then the verb would have to be third person. But the verb is second person. It is you. So you does not agree with a third person subject, tasabata. So the sentence is you will keep, and tasabata is accusative and the direct object. Phulaxes there, tasabata, you will keep the Sabbaths. Atalambanete.
Catalabano.
Catalambano.
Deca kai hex. Ta erga tu theu autoi pistusi. Ta erga tu theu autoi pistusi. Verb, pistusi, they believe. What is the subject?
They.
Autoi. You never need autoi as a subject, because the they is also implicit in the verb pisteusin. So when autoi is mentioned, it's like typing it in italics. There is a gentle emphasis on autoi here. Ta erga tu theu autoi pisteusin. They believe. Ta erga tu theu, the works of God. They believe, with a little stress on the they, because the expressed autoi is redundant. Dekakai hepta. Hepta is 7. Heptathlon, 7 events. Dekakai hepta. Kurion kai Christon epoiesen ho theos auton. Kurion kai Christon epoiesen ho theos auton. So we've got he made. What is the subject? Tebocho?
Ho theos.
Eucharisto, Tebocho?
Theos.
Ho theos.
Ho theos.
Ho theos. So God made. Now, what is the direct object?
Kurion.
We have one vote for Kurion from Johan. Anybody want to vote for Christon?
Auton.
And we have a vote for Auton.
Auton.
Another vote for Auton.
Say Kurion kai Christon.
And a vote for Kurion kai Christon. The confusion here, potential for confusion, is that we have two accusatives. Auton. We also have Kurion kai Christon, which are joined, so it's best to treat them as one. They're both accusative, so we've got God made, and then we've got Auton and Kurion kai Christon. What Greek sometimes does is has a double accusative. It's a double accusative. One will be a person, and the other will be a thing. And we've got this happening here. We do a little bit of it in English. So if I say, I give you the book. Follow that sentence. I give you the book. I give you the book means the same thing as I give the book to you. Right?
No.
I give you the book. Now Greek does exactly that. You could normally convert one of them into an indirect object. In this case, this is your primary sentence. Epoiesen ho theos auton, God made him, Kurion kai Christon, Lord and Christ. So the direct object I would say is auton, and Kurion kai Christon completes the thought. Very, very, very nasty example for someone who's just started. So if you found that confusing, don't worry about it at all. I'm surprised Mounts included it so early. Kurion kai Christon epoiesen ho theos, God made him Lord and Christ. Questions?
Would the word order there, I know it's not very important in Greek, but would the word order indicate emphasis in this case, as Mounts mentioned?
Absolutely. Your default word order would not be for Kurion kai Christon to be at the front. So the words that are out of position are Kurion kai Christon, which would draw some attention to them. So if you were looking to ask where's the emphasis, it's here. God made him Lord and Christ. That's the key thought in the sentence. What did God make Christ? He made him Lord and he made him Christ.
Eucharisto, Katelamano.
Deka kai octo. Deka kai octo. Octo. Deka kai octo. Tophos eleluthen eston kosmon kai egapesen hoi anthropoi malon tos skotos e tophos. These are long and difficult sentences for so early in the course. Tophos eleluthen eston kosmon. There's a kai and a second verb, so we're dealing with two sentences joined, right? Joining over here. So if we just look at the first one, the verb is eleluthen, it came. What came? Tophos. Tophos. Tophos eleluthen eston kosmon. The light came into the world. Fairly easy, that one. Kai and egapesen, they loved. Subject, hoi anthropoi. Malon toskotos e tophos. This malon a means rather one thing than the other, or one thing more than the other. I don't know if Mounts explained that anyway. If not, it would have been a bit confusing. Egapesen, so this is, and men loved. Malon toskotos, rather the darkness, e tophos, than the light. So men loved the darkness more than the light, would probably be a standard English way of saying it. That final phrase, certainly not obvious. Okay. Deka kai henea. Deka kai henea. Kai krinosan, ton laon, pasan horan. Kai ekrinosan, ton laon, pasan horan. And they judged. What is the subject?
They.
There isn't one expressed in the nominative case, so it's implicit in the verb. And they judged. Ton laon, the people. Again, we've got a double accusative, ton laon, and pasan, horan. Both are accusative. The meaning is they judge the people every hour. Probably an idiomatic way of saying continually. Ekrinosan, ton laon, pasan, horan.
Kevin, question, sir.
Dural.
Yes, sir. Right there, you've got ton, which is the first article, but I guess it shares the two words in the accusative share the one article. And you don't have to have two consecutively. Does that make sense at all? So you've got yeah.
That is sometimes the case. Yeah, your question's clear. We've got ton with laon, but no article with pasan horan. There are cases where you would have two articles. There are also cases where one article would govern two or more nouns that follow. In this case, you can draw a line. Yeah. The article belongs with laon, and pasan horan is a separate expression. One indication that that is so is that we change gender. Ton laon is masculine, and pasan horan is feminine, both being accusative. So the ton does not govern the feminine noun that follows it. So they judged ton laon, the people. So these two accusative answer the questions who and when. They judged who, the people, when, every hour, and that article does not belong to both. In this case, there are some contexts where one article can go and govern two or more substantives that follow.
Well, you've got the stem vowel there, the A, where you're getting the feminine at.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So we've got a switch of gender, which is it's very unlikely you're looking at the article going with a masculine and a feminine noun that follow. Okay.
Eucharisto.
Ekosi. 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 Kai autoi, Eran, tas phonas auton. Eran, they lifted up. Subject, autoi. Again redundant, don't need it. So when it's there, when it's not needed, it's putting a little bit of emphasis on the they. Kau autoi eran, they lifted up. Tas phonas auton. Literally the voices of them, we would in English say their voices. So that is the end of exercise 6. We have 15 minutes. If anyone has items that you've run into that have been problematic in exercise 7, I'm happy to do a couple, but we won't have time to go through all of them. So I'm in your hands. Any questions related to the translation part of exercise 7? Of course, if you've not done exercise 7, you wouldn't have had any problems with it.
Of course. Kevin, where is, this is a silly question, but where is Mounce's translation to his exercises, translation exercises?
Uginosko. I know they're somewhere on the Technia site, but I've never bothered to go and look for them.
Very good.
Everybody who took my class last time managed to find them. So he definitely does have answers somewhere on his site that you can download to self-check. And a good idea would be, we will devote some of these meetings to going through the translation exercises. So a good idea would be, when you run into ones that you are stumped by, why is his one different to mine, just bring it with you to the morning session, and I'll gladly offer an opinion. Now, somebody else here, no doubt, has found Mounce's answer key. Anybody want to tell Gerald where to cheat? I mean, look.
Kevin, before this.
Nobody's owning up. Yeah, was that Nico or Johan? Somebody was commenting.
It was Nico, Kevin, but now I forgot what I wanted to ask.
No problema.
Yeah, give me a little while. I'll remember. I've got the greyest head of all of you, so give me a little while.
But it's still better covered than some other heads. Somebody said God only made a few perfect heads. He covered all the others in hair.
I just remembered, Kevin, the lexicon that we are supposed to use for the translating exercises is the list in the back of Mounce's textbook. Is that sufficient, or should we use one of the others that we download?
No, that is sufficient for the translation exercises. I think he has all the words there that you would need for the exercises. It would not be sufficient for reading the New Testament because he's not attempted a complete listing of words. But I would think that he either lists in the lexicon or else gives you in the brackets all the necessary information. And it'll be a while before you'll need more than that. So that is fine.
Eucharisto.
The broadcast part of this.